Services and the Ad Council.
WOKB, Winter Garden, Orlando.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Real Family Talk this evening. This is your host, Jay Real. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday night in here, night out there. It's a beautiful night here in Orlando. We have 2 good nights, almost like 3 good nights here. It's been nice and cool. The humidity is not as strong. I'm loving the fall weather that we're getting here. So enjoying that. I hope you're enjoying your night wherever you are this evening. Let me go ahead and welcome the panel here that I have with me tonight. I have Miss Monica's in the building. How you doing, Miss Monica?
Doing good. How you doing, J Real?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I got Miss McCrae's in the building. How you doing tonight, Miss McCrae?
I'm wonderful. And yourself?
Oh, I'm doing good. No complaints. You know, it's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
You know I'm always excited on a Tuesday night, Miss McCrae. And then Mr. Michael King's in the building. How you doing tonight, Mr. King?
Indeed, I am doing great.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. And I know we also have some other people that be kind of probably stopping in this evening as well. And so we will speak to them when they get here. So first up, Steelers won. Everybody know that?
Gosh. Who did they play?
You know what? Right now, it slips me, brother.
Exactly.
Who they play.
I mean, they played a nobody team.
I can't even think of it right now. It don't matter. They got to win. That's what I care about. It was a W. We are now back 50-50 on the season, 3-3. We're back to a great record. I mean, and right now in the AFC, I'm sorry, most of the teams are like 3-3, 3-4, 4-3, with the exception of 2 teams. So we're right in a good place to be right now. It was the Bengals, brother. That's who it was. The Cincinnati Bengals.
The Bengals.
Yeah.
Ooh.
The Cincinnati, man, they made it to the playoffs last year. They're doing pretty good this year, brother. They had the same record as we do, as a matter of fact.
Like you say, everybody's 3-3. That's
not
really
hey,
a
exactly,
good thing to have,
which is what I'm excited about.
You know, I do respect the Steelers coach. Now, he is one of my favorite coach. I think, if not my favorite coach, just his attitude, his demeanor. Not only that he's black, but it's just his attitude, his demeanor, and how he does handle himself as a coach. I can definitely respect that about the Steelers. But I'm just a Mike Vick fan and a Oakland Raider fan since Bo Jackson. All my Bo Jackson fans out there call in. But, you know, I just never been a bandwagon hopper like some people.
Okay. Well, you're obviously not talking to me, so I ain't gonna address that. But
I don't know who's talking.
But yeah, brother, we won this week. That's all I care about, brother. Shout out to Mike Vick though. Hopefully the Philadelphia Eagles will get it together too. I always like to see them succeed as well. So shout out to those all those Steeler fans, Steeler Nation out there. We want to get right into the program this evening. We got first topic I want to kind of introduce out here. If you've been following Trayvon Martin, the Trayvon Martin case, of course, that has taken a new direction. Something we talked about and kind of mentioned a couple weeks ago has actually happened at this point. And that is the fact that a judge has decided to allow his school records and his Facebook account to be admitted as evidence in the case. You know, now like I said, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I know what I said about it. I thought it was one, inevitable, and I thought two, that it was all right. It was a good thing to happen, simply because in the spirit of fairness, Trayvon Martin is not here to speak, and in order to get some kind of perspective on who he was, unfortunately, in today's social media age, they're going to look at your Facebook account, Twitter account if you have one, and then in his case, because he was a student, his high school record as well. Before I continue, we have a guest in the building tonight. He has graced us with his presence. We appreciate that. Mr. Don Miller's in the building. How you doing,
Hey,
Don?
how's it going, man?
I'm
Good.
doing all right.
Good.
Doing all right. And thank you again for joining us tonight.
No problem.
So 407-894-1680 is the number. 407-894-1680 is the number. So what do you guys think? Trayvon Martin school records Facebook account is now going to be turned over to the defense as a way to document who this gentleman was when he was alive.
Like I said before last time, I think it's ridiculous. Why? Why do we need to know these things about this young man?
Right. It's very irrelevant. I mean, even if you find the worst things possible about him, what does that mean that he deserves what happened? Does that mean, what does that really attribute to?
Well, ladies, listen. See, this is one of the reasons why we are viewed by the masses from the perspective in which they engage us. They need to know. They need to know because if Trayvon, first of all, I think that you got to understand the conversation as it relates to Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. My perspective, as it is when I broke this story, and the New York Times gives me that acknowledgement, is that Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman met in the night. You weren't there. I wasn't there. But I had a conversation with my 12-year-old son who said something to me. He said, "Daddy, why didn't Mr. Trayvon run?" See, the whole Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman conversation is a moot point if we don't engage young black men to save the next Trayvon Martin. Since Trayvon Martin was murdered that night, 498 young black men have been put to death by other black men. Trayvon didn't flee because he came from a mindset of confrontation, not conflict resolution. Why didn't he run? Yeah, let me say something, okay? Just because you run don't mean you no punk. I learned that a long time ago after getting my butt whooped a few times. The fact of the matter is, we need to know who Trayvon was just as we know who George Zimmerman was. And I'm telling you, yeah, as a black man, and I talk on the BBC to the 50 million people in Europe the same way. We need to know who he was. Why didn't he flee? Why? Why didn't he? Look, I teach my kid this, and we need to teach our black men this. The most important thing you can do is get home. Now, if your path home is being blocked, defend yourself. But I want you to come home, baby. Daddy love you. Trayvon didn't flee for some reason. We heard the testimony of a young girl on the phone, and that will be absolutely evidence in this court of law. So we need to know who he was. There's also something about Trayvon's suspension record. Let me give you an example. In the system of incarceration in America, what percentage of young black men in prison were suspended from high school more than 2 times? How about 90? So there's a correlation between being troubled and the mindset of confrontation. So I'm not saying he deserved to die, and we need to take that out of context. That ain't got nothing to do with it. No, he didn't deserve to die. But he deserved to live, but he also deserved to create an environment conducive to himself living. Like run, Trayvon. That's what the shirt should say. I am running. I'm trying to get home. I'm trying to be somebody. I'm trying to live another day. Now, I understand what the court record's going to say. Court record's going to say this wasn't a good kid. And if so, no problem. There are a lot of bad kids who still should be with us. But this is law we're talking about. And put yourself in that situation on the opposite side. You want to know who he is. That's all. That's my position. It sounds crazy because I'm black. And black folks supposed to march and engage. Okay?
Not even that. Not even that. And I hear you.
Why aren't his records important?
I hear you on that. Why is the victim?
What's
why is
the
the victim on trial?
The victim isn't on trial.
But whether he ran or not, if you in the dark minding your business and somebody approaches you, whether from behind or not,
is he the victim because he's dead?
Yes, he's the victim because he's the one.
There's some
dead.
victims that are alive too.
He is the victim. If George Zimmerman would have minded his business and stayed in his car, After the police told him, sir, we
whoa. The
we don't
police
need you
did
to
not
do
tell
that.
him.
Well, the 911,
The dispatcher, which is not a police officer.
This is true.
So he didn't break a law.
But if somebody is saying, look, we don't need you to do that, police are coming.
Right.
This is my job to dispatch police. They're on their way.
Are you familiar with that community, ma'am?
We don't need Sanford.
Are you familiar with the community?
I'm just familiar
Okay,
with
let me
just
give you an
what
example.
Sanford is about.
Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, I live there currently.
Good.
That neighborhood has, up until that point, they had about 12 break-ins in that neighborhood. That's a decent neighborhood.
Right.
12 break-ins. They hadn't had 2 in 5 or 6 years prior. So people are on edge. People are a little on edge. Everybody's nervous. The 4 times people have been arrested for those break-ins, they were young black men wearing hoodies. So listen, Zimmerman was a whack job. No question about that. But I contend to save the next Trayvon, we got to tell these young folk the truth.
So I'm sorry, Monica, really
go
quick.
ahead.
If he runs, Zimmerman is already on alert. Oh, wait, I got somebody. He's running, so that means he did something. Bang.
Exactly.
I'm going to
Not gonna
shoot him
in the back.
Really?
You don't know.
Really?
No,
I got him.
No.
You're
Because
guilty
then
because you're
you
running.
think exactly because he's gonna say, well, that
See, you
is
gotta-
he
Hold on.
feels-
Real quick. 407-894-1680 is the number at the station up here. 407-894-1680 is the number. See, I knew it would get heated in the building
fun.
tonight.
do you own a weapon?
I like
do you own a
it.
weapon?
I do not.
Okay, so
Don't
you don't.
come
Do
to
you
my
own
house.
a weapon?
Absolutely. Well,
Okay, no,
no.
let me
not
explain
a
something.
weapon.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Protection.
Mr. Zimmerman had a concealed weapons permit, and he had the desire to be the police. One thing he understands more than anything else, I can't shoot nobody in the back.
Right.
Okay? Ain't nobody going to just shoot you in the back. Listen, I know we want to put all this on Mr. Zimmerman for being a whack job, allegedly white guy when we found out he wasn't white. Then you brought the sensationalist activists Al Sharpton and those whack jobs down here to make it even more of a problem. Because if you understand the demographic in that county and that circuit, ain't no black folk going to be on that jury. So please understand it. See, people don't understand the demographic and who lives in Sanford. Sanford, Florida has had one black judge in the history of Sanford, Florida. One. Okay, James Perry. They have had one black division chief in the history of that state attorney's office, Donna Gerner. One. So the fact of the matter is there are 33,687 people who reside in Sanford, Florida. How many of them are black? And how many blacks are registered to vote? See, we got to understand what's getting ready to happen here. This is bigger than Trayvon. This is about saving the next young black man in Chicago and Cleveland and Cincinnati and Pine Hills. We got to tell the truth. And I know we want to embrace this, and Natalie Jackson's my friend, and those lawyers are my friends, and I've talked to them, and I've counseled with them. The fact of the matter, this is bigger than the dead black kid who was sent to Sanford because he was messing up. We got to embrace young folk and say, look, let Trayvon be the catalyst for changing the mindset of confrontation. That's what the Trayvon Monument should say. Non-confrontation.
There you go. And you know, that's my point. Like I said, you need these records because we have a court of law. Everybody wants there to be the fairest, quote unquote, trial that there can be. And if you don't know who he is, which he can't talk for, he can't speak, then you need these records to show that. Now, you're right. It's unfortunate that the assumption is, and which is why everybody's really in an uproar, because they already know that, you know, he was suspended from school due to apparently some kind of marijuana incident at the school. The parents know that. The parents probably also know that he's probably got a couple other issues there. So they'd expect these school records not to present the best Trayvon Martin that they put forward. And so that's the issue of why people are afraid to have these records released. But you got to at least know who he is. Yes, okay, maybe he did have a right to defend himself that night. But like Mr. Miller's saying here, you have to at some point realize you can't just run up on everybody. It's everybody. You never know what the next man got. Sometimes you do need to back off. Some way, maybe, I don't know, maybe there was a reason or a way to get away from Mr. Zimmerman. But again, should these records be there? Yes. Why? Because you have to present a full picture of who he was so that this man, George Zimmerman, does get his fair trial. I hope he gets convicted. I think they went way too far. I've said this all the time. Second-degree murder, I think, is way too far in this case because you don't have the evidence to support that other than the fact that people are emotionally upset that a Spanish man killed a black man.
No, it was a white man. Come on, Jimmy. He was white.
He was white initially.
He was white at first. He was a Jew at first. Okay, let's be honest. Zimmerman, that name brought national attention.
So that's what we're upset about. But the facts are, you have to present in a fair court of law is what we're talking about here. We're talking about the law. And I personally want this not because of George Zimmerman. I want this just in case I'm on trial. I want to be on trial and know that the man that they're saying I committed some act against, they're going to put all his business in the street too, just like they put all my business in the street. That's why I want those records released, because I want to know that when I get there, I'm going to get the same respect.
If you kill somebody, you want to
whatever.
know.
If I'm in court and I have to defend myself against another individual, I want that individual's business in the street just like my business in the street. We got a caller. Is that what you're trying to tell me? All right. How you doing tonight, Michelle?
I'm doing fine, thank you. When I called like 3 weeks ago, I was upset when I heard, I think it was you that said Zimmerman deserves a fair trial. Now that I hear more of it, I won't say, I guess the way you say he deserves a fair trial. And I don't think he deserves a fair trial. Now, I guess it's the way you say it. But now I'm okay with them getting whatever Trayvon and Martin information they want. But in the same respect, they should get all of Zimmerman's information, any information that he has that could be incriminating. I think when we hear it on the radio, when we hear you, we hear like you supporting Zimmerman because he's an American, but yet and still Trayvon is dead, and he's not the one that's on trial. Zimmerman is, and he was the victim because he was killed when the person told him not to pursue. And that's my whole thing with that is, just with that statement alone, why wasn't Zimmerman arrested that night? And I think when a lot of people are saying he doesn't deserve a fair trial, that's what they arrested him to. He got away and had, and a lot of people give Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson a hard time because they came here and they're civil rights leaders, but they shouldn't have had to come here and fight one of our cases. Our own public officials should have stood. They shouldn't have had to come. But had they not come, even Zimmerman said on Facebook himself, had they not did the rally, he would have gotten off. He said that himself.
All right, Miss. Yeah, I'm listening. I got you.
Well, you know, ma'am, let me just say something, okay? Listen, I think Al Sharpton brought attention, but I'll tell you what he brought, and we're going to see when this trial starts. He brought attention, but he brought division also. Now, what's more important than convicting someone who you believe committed a heinous crime? What attention or division? I contend that when those white folk, because that's who it's going to be, sit on that jury and they hear some of the facts that will be brought out, and I think Angela Corey is a the perfect prosecutor for this situation. I think she takes no prisoners. She don't care about George Zimmerman at all, so there ain't going to be no love given. The fact of the matter is we need to know who the kid was.
Right, and I'm okay with that, but had he been a white kid,
I always want the same thing,
Zimmerman
Michelle.
been a black man, he would have gotten arrested that night.
And whose fault is that, ma'am? Whose fault is that? Let me tell you whose fault. That's black folk fault, because we've made killing each other a sport.
So that's why it was okay for a Spanish white man to kill a black man because we kill each other. Is that what you're saying?
No, that wouldn't been it wouldn't be a crime, ma'am. Ma'am, if that dude name was Gonzalez, it wouldn't have made the news. Please understand that. Black folk and brown folk kill each other. That's what we do. If his name was George Gonzalez, it would not have been national attention. Had it been known that night and the next day that a Spanish guy killed a black guy, it would not have made national news. I've talked about this from NBC to Fox. I am telling you, the fact that a allegedly white guy killed a black. Look at that kid. That kid looked 12 years old on that picture at first.
Yeah, he did. I said that too.
The outrage came because we thought some white dude had just murdered a black kid, a 12-year-old black kid. The fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, had his name been anything but Zimmerman, it would not be national news. And listen, we got to be fair to our young people in this community. We have to teach them the way to deal with issues like this. Trayvon has some responsibility in this too.
Well, we want to thank you for calling, Michelle. What? You have one more comment?
And really, based on what you just said, it just boils down to who's the better attorney. That's what it boils down to.
Absolutely.
It always boils down to that, though. That's the court of law, baby.
Yes, ma'am.
But we thank you for calling in, Michelle. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. She's right. Absolutely.
407-894-1680 is the number. 407-894-1680. But you know, at the end of the day, I know we are going to have to agree to disagree because Miss McCrae will never
At all.
and Miss
over
Monica
there wanna
will
fight.
never.
I really
will
don't.
never will never accept the idea
We're just not.
that these types of things need to be put in a court of law in this particular case whatsoever. I see Brother Jeremy's joined us tonight. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm good. How's everybody doing?
I know you've agreed with me in the past on this. You got any comments tonight, bro?
I'll give it to you in a second. Hold on.
but you know, so we'll agree to disagree. 407-894-1680, remember, is the number. Do we have another call? I take it. Oh, okay. Well, go ahead and say what you want to say.
I would say I agree with you. You know, the law is the law. The legal system is the legal system. Both parties have to present their case to the best of their ability. If I was, like I said before, if Zimmerman's attorney didn't go after his records, he should get another attorney, because at the end of the day, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's just like when rape happens, the first thing they do, the defense attorney, is they're going to go and find out the history of the woman or man, whoever, who was violated, and they're going to, I mean, for lack of a better word, they're going to run them through the ringer, you know? And, I mean, that's just part of the legal system. We don't like it, but that's the system.
Exactly.
That's the system. And it's the lawyer's job to defend his client to the best of his ability, and if he didn't, that actually would that would almost be grounds for a mistrial. You know, everybody has a part to play. Everybody has a job to do, and that's just part of the thing. Even debating this, to me, is pretty much irrelevant. We just need to hope and pray that he really has a fair jury. Let's say that, and it's not like Mr. Miller said. You know, it is Sanford.
Well, but you got to understand, the problem in this is the Sanford Police Department.
Correct.
That's the problem. And ain't
Correct.
nobody talking about that. That's who should
Correct.
be on trial.
That is
the
the problem.
raggedy Sanford Police Department, okay? But nobody's talking about that. When they showed up and saw the black dead kid in the hoodie, they just, hey, let's go. Pick him up, let's ride.
Let's ride.
Now, that's the problem, okay? Sorry about that, man. I'm telling you, right. Y'all know they put me off this station. I'm trying. I got a cussing spirit. Amen. I'm trying to do right.
That's all right.
Hey, Shanti.
We like your enthusiasm.
I know Shanti listening. I know. I ain't gonna cuss on
we
the
like your
radio.
enthusiasm, brother Miller. We like your enthusiasm.
It's very passionate.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
And I couldn't agree with you
407-894.
more. At the end of the day, that is the bigger problem, is the police department.
Yes, it is.
And nobody's discussing that. We're discussing what's happened in the case. But we'll move on. We're going to talk about some other things tonight. The next topic, we're going to hit on the presidential debates here. So we've had the second debate was last Tuesday while the show was going on. The third debate was last night. We'll start with the second debate. I watched the second debate after I got home last week. And personally, I came away feeling like it was a draw. I didn't really see anyone of the particular candidates, the president or Mitt Romney, really stepping up and then proving themselves to be much more than the next man. You know, it was great of the president to finally step up and show that he's got some spunk, if you will, in the second debate, and he did that. And I think a lot of people watching, especially his supporters, you know, basically called him the winner simply because he finally did show up. But I don't feel like he presented anything that sort of outshined what Mitt Romney was trying to present. And so I call it a draw in that second debate. I know Ms. McCrae is going to disagree with me. She always does.
That's what I do.
Well, go ahead, Ms. McCrae. What you got to say?
I mean, we've talked about it before. From the first one, I still don't understand what was going on with Mr. President. I really don't know what was going on, because obviously the last two, he was on point. He was on fire. He was engaging, and he won that debate. He won both debates. I know you like to sit back and think.
Well, I ain't got to the third. You ain't heard what I had to say.
Okay, well, I don't know about the third, but the second and the third on my watch, he came back and he won the debates. That first one though, that was the game changer. The way he came out, and there's listening to the pundits talk about it, that may be the game changer and what messes everything up. Just the way he came out with lackluster performance.
407-894-1680. 407-894-1680. Anybody else? I know Mr. Miller got something to say.
Well, I don't have too much to say about the second, more about the third. But I'm definitely glad that he woke up, or whatever got changed that needed to be changed, so that he had a little more fire in him this time. But of course, I guess I can be a little biased. I don't care for Mr. Mitt Romney very much at all anyway. But I just feel like, it was a much better performance. It gave a little bit more character, and it showed a little bit about both of them that we may not have ever seen or may not ever see again in the public eye. But at least we had a different aspect of them, so that was good to see.
Well, in the second debate, I got to tell you, I thought the president did himself a service of showing up but not winning. Yeah, he was there. He was active. He was engaging. But I think in that environment, you got to win. What happened is the Obama administration is guilty of creating Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney didn't create Mitt Romney. They did. They created Mitt Romney by convincing people through advertising at $190 million that this guy was a rich idiot. And all of a sudden, the American people see this guy, and they're like, wait a minute.
He's not an idiot.
He's not an idiot,
Yeah.
okay? Now, that creates a significant shift in itself, okay?
That first one.
We have to be careful how we paint the picture, especially if that person will be engaging in that dynamic at some point. So America's saying, wait a minute. Hey, this guy may be on to something. Listen, that wasn't about Democrats. That wasn't about black folk. That was about the undecided voters. Somebody tweeted me and said, man, ain't no black folk there. And I said, yeah, because it's undecided voters. Listen, black folk. Listen to what I'm saying. Follow me on Twitter, Don Miller Show, 33,000. Anyway, listen, this is real conversation. I had to do that, Jimmy. This is real conversation, right? The fact of the matter is, President Obama is now, people know who he is. Not us, because we're going to love him if he come out in his drawers.
Exactly.
People who followed this guy, the independents and the Republicans like myself, who in 2008 voted for him. But the problem when you engage people like us, who don't just love you because we love you, we're going to follow every damn thing you do. Watch. And they're there now. They're saying, wait a minute, this is not the guy, the hope and change guy. So we have to be careful. Look, am I a Romney fan? No. But the president has hurt me, y'all. President let me down, man.
I got Eddie
Mr.
on the
President,
line.
help a brother out, man.
Eddie, what you got to say
Left
tonight,
you
Eddie?
hanging.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I was just listening to what you guys said. I know there's a lot of debate about the first debate. But in my opinion, the president did well the first debate. I'm going to tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
See, what the president was dealing with, he was dealing with facts. We have a tendency to, everybody want to see dramatic. We want to
Eddie, are you kidding? You're the only person in America say the president did well. The people who love him, his mama probably wouldn't say. She'd probably be like, Barack, cut it out.
There you go right there in that sense. Everybody wanted dramatic.
He did nothing. He put his head down.
To the substance that the man was talking. You're saying, well, he had his head down, he wasn't engaging. But did you listen to the substance of his speech when he was speaking?
Okay, at the 43-minute, 37-second mark.
You listened to the
Wait,
substance.
I got it in my head. 43 minutes, 37-second mark. He was addressed. He didn't respond, and he put his head down. He is currently the president of the United States. This other cat wanna be.
Father was engaging. A lot of time, put it this way. I give them a personal example. I'm an ex-police officer as well.
Mm-hmm.
With that in mind, sometimes I had situations where I'm stopping somebody, I'm pulling them over, and they want to go off on me. Now, bottom line, I can do that one or two ways.
Yes, sir.
I can exert my authority because I have authority over the situation.
Yes, sir.
Or I can listen to them. And try to diffuse the situation.
Here's the problem with that.
You ain't the president, and you never put your head down, Eddie. Cut it out.
Exactly. The problem with that, Eddie, is
I keep my eyes on you, but the bottom line is that what I'm
Eddie.
saying is a lot of times the president he was trying to diffuse.
Come on, Mitt Romney, Eddie. Come on, let's be honest. Mitt Romney attacked this man verbally.
Oh, he
slapped
abused him
around
He abused
verbally
him.
in that first debate.
In the hood, we call that something.
And the president barely looked at the man. Come on, Eddie. Come on,
Eddie, cut it out.
Even Democrats said he won. Eddie Van Jones, one of the biggest liberals in the planet, said that Mitt Romney won that.
The fact that he's not doing what you wanted him to act a certain way, but he did what he felt was good.
He ran, man. Eddie, cut it out, man. You've been listening to this radio too long, man. Come on, man.
What's wrong with you guys?
I appreciate you, Eddie. I gotta let you go, man. We got BJ.
Love him. I love it that he love him.
We got BJ Adams on the phone. How you doing, BJ Adams?
I'm doing fine. I just wanted to make a few comments on Don Miller's comment earlier about that the Obama campaign made Mitt Romney what he was. But I've been seeing Governor Romney before this campaign even started, and he has always seemed very ignorant and not knowing what to do.
Okay, BJ, cut it out.
And I saw him early on TV tonight. He looked stupid now. He looked stupid then. And both of them cannot talk. They can't communicate. They have made this man and built him up for this here debate, these last three debates, to make sure he came out well at the end.
Okay.
Now, you cannot
BJ, you're an educated woman. Cut that nonsense out.
And then being able to communicate with people.
Okay.
You better know how to communicate.
Okay, BJ, you say you followed Mitt Romney, correct?
Yes.
Okay, let me ask you a question then.
You don't have to ask me no question.
Because you don't know what you're talking about.
You need to listen to what you said.
No, look, let me tell you something, BJ, stay in your lane. Count this money. BJ, count that money.
Hold on.
That man's been talking ignorant. Now, I agree with what Barbara Walters said today on The View. She said now, with the debate, did let the American people see Romney in a different way. And I agree with that. It did show him a little bit more intelligent in the way that he handled himself in the debate. I agree with that. But for the most part, he does not know how to represent the United States.
BJ, let me ask you a question. Don't throw the rock and hide your hand, okay?
I'm not throwing the rock.
Let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with Mitt Romney before this campaign? Yes or no?
I'm familiar with him when he was.
Are you familiar with this gentleman?
Just ask me what you want to ask me. Yes.
What are your thoughts on Obamacare?
Well, the Obamacare, I feel that it has its good side, and then it has.
You know who wrote that?
Bad side.
Do you know who wrote it?
Yeah, I know that he had it.
Do you know who wrote it?
I know who wrote it. I know who didn't. He didn't call it the Obamacare.
It ain't the point. The fact of the matter is, this gentleman. Listen.
He is the one that exercised it in his state.
Okay. He was rated one of the top 50 governors of all time. Let me just say this. We got to be careful when we don't like somebody for one reason and cast them out. We got to be careful. That dude is not an idiot. He's a well-educated guy. Y'all don't like him because y'all got wealth envy. I ain't mad at nobody for having money. I want to find out. The fact that you can't call him. Well, how can you call that dude an idiot?
Hold on.
You call that man an idiot.
Hold on.
Let me just say this.
With his plan.
Let me just say this, BJ Adams. You did call up and you said that he was an idiot. And
I feel like it. And that if you're a leader, now this is me, why I say he's an idiot. If you are a leader, or you're planning to become a leader, or he's been a leader in what he's been doing in the past, you don't come in with a plan, Mr. Smith or Mr. Miller, and then every time you changing your plan. Not with the American people. This is governing the whole United States of America. I'm not saying his total being is an idiot. I'm saying the things that he says and does, you just don't do that kind of stuff.
All right. Well, I
with the plan.
I appreciate that, B.J. Adams. But here's what we got to remember about Governor Mitt Romney here. One, his interpretation of what he wanted to do has been consistent. Now, what he hasn't been consistent on is giving exact specifics on how he plans to achieve that. But the overall idea of what he wants to do has been consistent. And so what the president criticized him on and what most of his critics criticize him on is the fact that he hasn't laid out some specific plan. In one of the debates, I believe it was the second one, he sort of laid out the idea that a part of his plan was to basically create that outline, and then from the outline sit down with the leaders and then come up with a specific plan. Now, I'm not saying that that's the best idea in the world. That's debatable, but that's his idea. Now again, you're welcome to debate that, but we know that he has been successful. You don't take. He has been what? He has been successful. The man has taken
I agree with
millions
that.
of dollars and turned them into billions of dollars.
Some of the companies, the way he did them, I don't agree with that.
But everybody does that. That's
so we know how we can do it. So we know that he can do it.
All business people.
Yeah, you buy low, you sell high. How long you been in business?
I've been in business a long time.
Well, apparently you ain't sold nothing.
And sell high.
Wait, Jimmy, do you buy low, sell high?
In the medium.
That's what they tell you to do.
Do you buy low and sell high?
I gotta care about your people. I got to care about my employees.
I ain't gonna let you hold my money.
But I appreciate it. We appreciate you calling, B.J. Adams.
Don't buy low and sell high all the time.
You're gonna be broke your whole life. You're gonna be trying to hold on to something.
Thank you, B.J.
There's a lot of rich people who will buy low and sell high all the time.
Buy low. Miss McCray, do you buy low and sell high?
But you still have to have integrity. You have to care about the people that are providing service for you, that are working hard for you. You can't just be like, well, I'm sorry, I got to make $1. See you later. Go find another job.
You got a job somewhere?
I own my own business.
Well, watch what you do when you get enough people getting on your nerves. Y'all crazy. Y'all better get some employees and get them on. See how that is.
That's what selection is for.
I'm trying to
select
get
the right people, and they'll take care of you.
I know you're right. Amen. Jesus is my Savior. You ain't the only one with Jesus in your heart. I just got a cussing spirit.
But I appreciate that. 407-894-1680. 407-894-1680. Brother Jeremy, I see you having a great time back there, brother. You got a comment you want to make?
Not really. But in theory, you are supposed to buy low and sell high.
Yeah. She said, I ain't selling high.
Now, I will say this. Now, I don't necessarily agree. You know, me personally, I got a little bit more better heart. I'm not so cutthroat, but, in theory, buy low and sell high.
But that's the reason why a lot of Christians ain't making no money.
It is, but it's a balance of how much money do you want to make and how much do you want to help people.
Exactly.
It's a balance that you personally have to find.
And then, too, she's basically criticizing for some of the moves that his company made when he was running it, but I mean that's what the kind of company they were. You didn't come. Bain Capital didn't come and knocking at your door per se. You came knocking at their door because you weren't being successful. So you brought a company in that has been successful to see if they can make you successful. Sometimes that works. Sometimes that doesn't work. But, that's the nature of the business. Every business that gets started is not going to succeed. Now, from the worker perspective, man, you are devastated because the job you thought was secure, you just found out wasn't as secure as you thought. But does that somehow make the Bain Capital, the company that came in to try and save you, bad? No, that doesn't make them bad. That just means that, again, you are not going to ever be 100% successful at every single thing that you start as a business. That is not reality. The most successful people in this world failed before they succeeded. So that's the nature of the game. It happens. It sucks when it happens to you, but it happens. That's what happens. They can still
fail, and I don't want him to fail with the country. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You can be this great businessman in the private sector, but here you're on a national level. Mm-hmm. You got your foreign policy.
But has your president ever had a job? Has Barack Obama ever had a job? Because I know the answer to that.
What are you talking about?
He's never had a job. So the fact is, I would rather in a difficult economy.
Professor?
No, come on, cut that out.
That's a job.
No, cut that out.
I think so.
He ain't ran nothing.
I think that's a job.
Okay,
he's never been a business owner.
He ain't never ran nothing.
I think he was.
Okay, No, listen, I know the gentleman, and I know his wife, and I'm from Chicago.
Wonderful.
He ain't never had no job. Professor don't mean job. I've been a professor,
Go talk
and
to
I
some
can't
professors.
even count half the time, okay? I'm saying this is real important, okay? This is real important. In a difficult economy, I want someone that may know how to do some restructuring. The president has been a very serious disappointment to many of those who voted for him. He has not been successful, and I know y'all love him because of pigmentation. Pigmentation is a wonderful thing, but America needs leadership. And I'm not saying Romney is the guy, but I can tell you Obama ain't either. So this is when we come to a difficult point where the engagement of the American people has to be engaging and reading and being informed.
Exactly.
The president has let us down. Black folk, we should be angry. Morehouse College is on the verge of collapse. Anybody see that today? Morehouse, the storied institution for young black men. Yeah. Morehouse College, 68.5% of black colleges on the verge of collapse. Mr. President, over here, 97.8% of black folks voted for him. We didn't get heard. The Hispanics, they voted for him at 75%. The gays at 76%. The Jews at 73.9%. The Jews got us about to die. The LGBT, talking about same-sex marriage, acknowledgement from the first president. Don't ask, don't tell. And the Hispanics, they got the DREAM Act, 1.8 million new illegals on the pathway to citizenship. Can a black man get something from the black man?
Wow.
What would you
hold on. We
do?
got a caller on the phone. How you doing, Sarah? How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. Talk to us.
Just a question for all of you guys. I heard the last caller. She called Governor Romney an idiot for constantly changing his plan. So my question is, if Governor Romney is an idiot for changing his plan, what would you consider President Obama, considering that when he came into office, unemployment and the economy was already on a downward spiral. So what would you call him pressing a plan or a mandate for people to purchase a service when unemployment is already not there? So you have people unemployed, but you want to mandate them to purchase a service and also mandate businesses to offer that. And if they don't abide by this mandate, then there's a fee or a penalty for them. So there's a cost to both the business and to the public for something or a service that they're not in the situation to handle at this particular point. So what would you call that then?
I got an answer for you.
Old people call it putting the cart before the horse. Okay. So what do you call him?
Okay. Well, first of all, I got to ask a question real quick, Sarah. Number one, are you a black woman, Sarah?
I am.
Oh, my goodness.
Why is that?
I wish I had some claps here, because I think this is the first black caller I have seen since I've been on this show that had anything critical to say about the president. I appreciate that.
Well, all those Don Miller 30,000 Twitter followers holler.
But here's, I agree with you, Sarah. That's one of the issues with the I'll be respectful from Ms. McCrae, the Affordable Health Care Act.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
That's one of the issues is, how are you going to force people to buy a service and essentially tax them if they don't? That is ridiculous. If it was that good, you wouldn't need to put all of these positions in place to force people to get on the train. If it was that good, it just don't make no sense.
But not only that, at a time where the economy is already in a weakened state. What sense does that make? And what would you call him if Mr. Romney
Obama
is
supporters?
an idiot? What would you call him for pushing this agenda?
Obama supporters? I got
Sarah, let me just say this real quick. You have an interesting point, but again, we must understand the engagement of those who don't read. And I'm sorry, I said nationally, I said internationally. When you don't read, there's a 2,500-page bill out there. When I never forget, Senator Kennedy, my good friend who's no longer with us, said to me, he said, if you can't put it in a 10-page bill, it ain't real. There's nothing such thing as a 2,500-page bill. The only reason, you don't want nobody to read it.
And you know what? When they were passing it, they admitted as much. We don't have time to read this thing. We need to get it passed.
Right. Yeah. But you can go to page 1467, section A, number 6. Listen to this. If you don't get it, you are going to get penalized up to the line. And that is going to hit 5.5 million Americans within the 3-month period. That's a lot of money, $300 a piece. Then when they realize they ain't gonna pay $300, they're gonna go up some more. So please understand, listen, this is my body. This is my temple. This ain't PIP. That's a 6,000-pound object you operating that can get out of control and hurt other people. If I want this temple to go faulty, then that's on me. You can't make me. You can't mandate me. That is a constitutional violation. And when Justice Roberts wrote that opinion, please understand that Justice Roberts never liked the president. The president never liked Justice Roberts.
No, they did
and that
not.
is why Justice Roberts went out of his way in that opinion to call it a tax.
Right. And basically say you voted him in. So if you didn't like it, then you shouldn't have voted him in.
Right.
But that's my opinion on that, Sarah. I appreciate you calling tonight.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
This is
Thank
the
you.
radio. You guys are good.
But the people who support President Obama, his policies or whatever it is that you support, you still haven't given me an answer. What do you call him? If Governor Romney is an idiot, what do you call President Obama?
Look, the whole idiot comment, that out of respect for both men, both candidates, that was wrong. You don't say idiot. Mitt Romney is not an idiot. And I'm a supporter of Obama, and I know this is a smart businessman. You cannot take away anything that he's done. I just don't think he can lead the country. He can lead some businesses and make money for himself, but as far as doing it for the country and for the middle class and for poor and for women and all the other things that he's for that I'm against, he's just not my candidate.
With Ms. McCrae?
He's not my candidate.
You are.
Is this Ms. McCrae?
It
so
is.
then my question to you is, with that premise that you just stated, with that premise, if you feel like he can lead the country better, are you in agreement with his agenda when he first came into office to push that health care bill, considering the state of the economy at that particular point? So you feel like him doing that means that is a sign to you that he can lead this country in the right direction, this forward, moving on?
On one thing, the president is not a perfect man. I do not.
That's not what I asked you.
But this is part of my answer. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's not a perfect man, so not everything that he stands for, I totally agree with.
Okay.
And parts of that plan, that health care bill, is important, and I will take those parts over everything else because everything else is going to figure itself out.
Okay.
His plan compared to Romney's plan, which is to take it all away, and then what?
Replace it.
And with what?
He
The same thing that Obama has in place. See, this is what the problem is. What the problem is. So Romney says, "Oh, I'm going to repeal this." Well, what's your plan, Mr. Romney? Well, I'm going to do pretty much the same thing, but I'm not going to call it Obamacare.
See, I think the problem is you got other presidential candidates that they don't want you to know about. And I think that's what the real problem is. Because like I say, you got one peanut M&M and you got one plain M&M, but when the bottom line turns out, you still got M&Ms. It ain't no Skittles, and they not letting the other Skittles even in the debate. You got Ralph Nader, you got Jill Stein, you got so many other presidential candidates, but you don't even hear their plans. You don't see their commercials.
Ron Paul.
You got Ron Paul. You got so many other candidates,
and who got real conversation. Ron Paul got real conversation.
They have plans. They have guys. Yeah. They have things that will be set into play. But they don't. They have so many guidelines that you got to cross and so many bridges you got to get over that you
so much money you got to raise.
Well, hold on.
That's what it's all about.
But that's neither Obama or
money. You can't even get in debate.
You talking about a president that's getting ready to raise $989 million. $989 million. Let me tell you about $989 million real quick, Jimmy. $989 million can put an after-school program in every urban community in this country and save 212,000 homes of people in foreclosure. Don Miller, 2012.
But yeah, to a point, there are a lot of issues, and you're right. There is issues with not letting other candidates have a voice, but But you brought this up to me before, and as I told you then, the only way that situation gets rectified is when people recognize the power that we have, and then we step up and demand there be a change in the way the game is played.
But see, they did that because they had the women, the League of Women Voters who backed out because the way the game was being played.
It takes hundreds of millions of people.
So you're trying to say you against women's rights now? That's what you're trying to say, Brother Real.
It takes hundreds of million people to cause change.
It takes a start.
Not a few
thousand. You got to start somewhere. And until we recognize that, hey, the game is not being played fair, I'm just a pawn on the chessboard, we got to do something versus just being like, well, them the only two I got, so I guess I just pick both of them or one of the two. Like, no, that ain't going to get you nowhere.
But see, people have
get you in the same position.
People have a tendency to grumble and mumble to themselves and do absolutely nothing in the future. And I think that is what has happened for hundreds of years. That we don't like certain things.
I think that we just voting for the two people that we got, and we acting like we ain't got no other votes. That's what's going on.
Sometimes you are not educated about other, the independent political scene because they are not, out there. And so people that are not that educated, they're not as much. I knew about Ron Paul, but I don't really know very much about his political stance.
Because you haven't went and researched it. Well, you got to read, just like they were saying. You got to go read it.
Google and search them for galore.
All you know about Mitt Romney is what you saw on the news.
I can do one little thing, and I'll find out plenty of information about our other two candidates. So I don't think they have enough supporters to give other people that option.
They do. They really do.
Where are they? Where are they?
You're not looking.
I gotta search for. They want my vote, and I gotta search for them. They want my vote.
Here's what you gotta do.
Right.
Here's what you gotta do.
And I gotta go look for them.
As in all things, when it comes to voting, you have to do research. And so, is the information out there? Yes, the information is out there. But you have to go do the research. Two, you have to be interested enough to want to do the research. And so if these other candidates, because no matter what we say, again, until hundreds of millions of people get together and cause and ask for change, these people aren't going to change how the platform is run because there's hundreds of million people that are backing the Democrats and Republicans who are running the game right now.
That's not true. It's 100 million people that's watching these commercials that are funded by the Democratic and Republican Party.
Hold on, brother.
That's all that's going on.
Hold on, brother. Until you get the people behind the program, and again, it takes more than thousands. Thousands can start the march, but it's going to take hundreds of millions of people to actually see the change. And so that is a people equation. There's the people equation. When the people ask for a change, then we'll get change. But the people have to first go and do research. That's on people. It's not the president's fault. It's not Mitt Romney's fault that people are lazy. And most people in this country that vote only vote because of what they heard on the news. They're not doing the research. That is not the Democrats' fault. That's not the Republicans' fault. That's the people's fault. The people have chosen to be ignorant about what's going on. The people.
Jimmy, I gotta take issue with you on that. Let me just take a subgroup of those people you mentioned, the black folk. Black folk historically have engaged with the Democratic Party. Every urban community, every black community in this country are led by a Democrat, either black or white. 43 members of the Congressional Black Caucus, 43 members, okay? Black people have had 6 senators in the history of America, 6 black senators in the history of this country. Yet we vote overwhelmingly for one party. What do we get? Barack Obama has spent 20 million as of today on the Hispanic vote in Florida. He has spent 1.5 million on the black vote in America. Let's be honest. Black folk, the vote's irrelevant. Nobody cares about you because you're in a box. Obama came here in 2008 7 times. How many times did he go see the black folk? Not once. How many times did he go see the Hispanics? 6. And he will continue to engage them and appoint Supreme Court justices like Sotomayor, even though there's no black person on the Supreme Court. Because if y'all really believe Clarence Thomas is one of us, y'all all crazy, okay?
I think we know that.
Then he had a chance to put a black woman on the bench. What did he do? He went and got a Jewish lesbian. So the fact of the matter is, your vote don't count. You can throw it in the pot, but it don't count because they ain't talking to y'all.
Right.
President Obama mentioned poor 4 times in his presidency. And the only reason he mentioned it in Denver and Charlotte when I was there, because President Clinton mentioned twice in his speech. The fact is, nobody cares.
But the truth of the matter is, because black folks aren't engaged in the process. Black folks don't sit around and raise millions of dollars to put these candidates in office. We don't do that.
Hispanics don't. No, but they leverage their vote. Hispanics vote Republican and Democrat.
Exactly. And so when we become engaged as black folks, we'll get some of that respect. They'll listen to what our policies are, and then two, we have to demand and show these candidates that I'm not just voting for you because you're Democratic, which is like you say,
or because you're black,
which is what we do now. Like you say, most of us vote Democratic just on principle.
We
vote
chose
Democratic.
Obama over Hillary Clinton. That white lady should be president of the United States. Let's be honest, because one thing we had with the Clintons, we had access. You look at the Clinton cabinet and look at the Obama cabinet. Ain't no blacks. The fact of the matter is, when you can look back and see that George Bush had more black people in key positions in his administration over 8 years than President Barack Obama. Head over and look at Barack Obama's 7 people that run the campaign nationally. Not one black. Not one black on the National Campaign Committee. That's a travesty considering we're going to show up at 97%.
Hey, you get no argument on me on President Obama. Everybody in this building know I'm already told I'm voting for Mitt Romney. So, you get no argument for me. President Barack Obama.
I ain't mean to rub it in.
All of that. Romney still ain't the man.
Endorse Ralph Nader.
You can talk all that noise.
You can talk Gary Johnson. You got other people besides Mitt Romney that you can vote for, and you definitely got other people besides
you can write
President
in
Barack
Jimmy
Obama.
Smith.
There is another
I'm
section.
writing in my son. Okay, I'm right. He gonna be on the. I'm writing my son's name in because I ain't vote for now one of them.
And that's just a vote that's just gonna go out
But
into
guess what?
Gotta at
cyberspace.
least be
But it ain't gonna
35.
make a difference.
It's gonna go out into
But it ain't gonna make a
cyberspace.
difference. Obama don't love you, Miss McCrae.
So you're
He
saying
don't love
Obama
you.
thinks
Yes,
you're
he
the
does.
47%
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he
too.
does. I'm considered in the middle class. I'm not the
No,
poor.
but guess
when
what?
you look at
Miss
all
McCrae,
the black
Miss McCrae,
people,
what
we have
administration-
several different class of black people. That's the problem. That's the problem. You group
McCrae,
all
are you
black.
kidding?
No, listen
Because
to
you
me.
graduated.
Hold on.
That you middle class.
You can't group all black people into one category. I'm sorry, sir. You got millionaires who are blacks. You got the middle class blacks. You got the poor blacks. Now, when you talking about who they're not talking to, they're not talking to the poor.
White or black.
Exactly. So that's the problem.
But the poor is carrying this country, ma'am.
But okay,
Not the middle class.
But don't say he's not talking to the blacks. He's not talking to the poor.
He's not talking to black folk. What?
The
This
poor
administration
black folks,
has
the
poured
poor
more money
white
into the
folks,
prison
the
system.
poor Latinos.
Why is he pouring money into the prison system?
The poor.
Who's in prison? 1.9 million inmates in America.
That's a whole nother. Hey, that's a whole nother topic.
Prison
that we can get
industrial
into.
complex. Y'all need to
I'm
do that one
sorry.
day. Okay?
That's a whole
Prison
nother
industrial
topic.
complex. You're an HBCU graduate, right?
I sure am.
Okay, look
as
at
well
the
as
numbers.
Florida State.
Look at the numbers
So,
of HBCUs.
What about
Huh?
it? What about it?
Black men are graduating at a 27.3% clip from HBCUs. Why?
Okay.
Why? They need to close most of them down, ma'am.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, that's a whole nother topic.
HBCUs
Wait a minute.
Whoa, Mr.
Y'all
Miller.
hold on a
Whoa,
minute.
Mr.
Hold on.
Miller.
I'm sorry. Do you like black people?
I love black people.
Look, I have to ask the question. I just met you tonight. I'm sorry, but do you like black people?
Look, when you look at HBCUs, only 29% of them are graduating black folk in 4 years.
Let me pull up.
Google
my
that,
stats.
ma'am. That's
Let
real
me
stats,
pull up my
baby.
stats.
You asked Dr. Humphries about me. You went to FAMU.
I sure did.
Go
Proud graduate.
Okay.
Proud.
You asked Hump about me, and they asked
Proud.
Dr. Ammons about me. I was on that committee when they realized that the president of the United States was not an advocate for HBCUs. I was on that committee, and they were stunned. Okay, Trudy Kibbe Reed from Cookman said in this studio, they were stunned that there was no money coming to HBCUs, but to a pig farm in Iowa. Huh? The senator from Iowa had got $9 million. Come on, y'all. Pay attention, black folk. Thanks for having
Absolutely
me,
not.
Jimmy.
I think I'm sorry. You have a warped view of what black
Rewind it
people
down.
are.
I
I'm sorry.
know. Rewind
I don't
it down.
know where
Rewind
you
it
coming from, but you got no love for black people.
Whoa, whoa.
And HBCUs need to stay in business. And when we're talking about African Americans, you're talking down to all black people, and not all black people are uneducated or lazy.
All right, I appreciate that. We aren't all
Boy,
uneducated.
can we extend this? Can we extend
No, we
this?
can't extend it. We can't
I'm
extend it.
just
We got
getting
a
started.
They're gonna be
You
texting
got
me
no
with
nerve.
Hold on. We want to thank you for being here
Hold
tonight
on.
with us,
Thanks for
Mr.
having me,
Miller.
man.
I appreciate it, man.
Strike, strike,
Hold on.
strike
I
again.
got I got one more thing to say. I'm still voting for Obama.
Me too. To all y'all.
Hey, we want to thank
my black people.
The callers for listening tonight. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Real Family Talk. You can follow us on Twitter, Real Family Talk. The website, realfamilytalk.weebly.com. We will see you guys next week. We appreciate y'all tuning in again. Thank you, panel. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Thank you for all the callers that called in. This was definitely a great discussion. 1680 WAKB. We'll see you next week.
Don't forget to tune in to the like page at Real Family Talk at Facebook.
WOKB, Winter Garden, Orlando.